Governor Gavin Newsom says the Department of Justice is investigating him and his wife.
They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president.
Now, the governor says federal agents have been contacting people close to him without evidence of a crime. Thanks for joining us at 6 tonight. I'm Gulston Dark.
And I'm Andrea Flores. The governor also claims the investigation is retaliation for his criticism of President Trump, as well as his own presidential run or potential run. Political director Ashley Zvala joins us now. So first and foremost, this is kind of the first time that he has said those words about a possible presidential run.
That is true.
But what are we hearing about the investigation as well?
There's a lot to unpack here from this morning. To be clear, neither the governor nor his wife have been subpoenaed by federal investigators. But the governor's office says banks associated with businesses and organizations the Newsoms help oversee have been subpoenaed to provide financial records. More than a dozen people associated with the Newsoms have been approached by federal investigators within the last week or so. The governor's office did cooperate earlier this year as federal authorities looked into a situation involving his ex-chief of staff, Dana Williamson, who was indicted in November. Specifically, they cooperated related to the firing of a state attorney within the Newsom administration who was investigating, I should say, video game company Activision Blizzard. But apparently nothing came of that. So now the governor says they are looking for a crime that does not exist. Meanwhile, law enforcement sources close to the situation tell us there are multiple investigations involving people associated with the Newsoms, which started a year ago. The U.S. Attorney's Office here in Sacramento is leading that investigation, and multiple sources confirmed to us. One of the sources said the investigation involves Newsom's wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, and the tax-related activity of her nonprofit organizations. Another is related to staff in the governor's office, including his ex-chief of staff, Dana Williamson, according to the source. Now, the source could not provide more specifics beyond that, but noted the investigation started from whistleblowers within California who provided this information to state and local investigators, not because of President Donald Trump or Todd Blanche, again, according to the sources. We reached out to the U.S. Department of Justice, which declined to comment. We also reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Sacramento. We're still waiting to hear back. And finally, I checked in with the lawyer for Newsom's ex-chief of staff, Dana Williamson, McGregor Scott. He said the first he's hearing about all of this was today and has had no indication that his client, Dana Williamson, is being investigated in anything separate from the indictment in November.
As you mentioned, there's a lot going on here. What's next? And is the governor planning on taking any legal action against the administration?
Right. That's the big question here. Since the governor has come out ahead of this, it's really not clear yet. His office won't say if he's going to take legal action. What we do know is that within the last hour, the governor did file a Freedom of Information Act request within the U.S. Department of Justice asking for communications like texts, emails, signal messages involving DOJ leaders that use the terms Gavin Newsom or Jennifer Siebel Newsom or Newsom between January of last year and now. But I just want to circle back that it's not the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. that's, again, leading this investigation. It's the one right here in Sacramento. So there's that.
All right. Thank you.